again, today we invited another key player, Jason, to come here with the coach, Mr. Miso, to talk about Jason's past experience related to robotics or programming, everything. So now, Mr. Miso, you start.
All right. So, Jason, what grade are you in?
I'm in grade 12 right
Wow.
Grade 12, wow. So you're applying to universities. Have you received any offers yet?
Yeah, I've got a couple offers. My first one was Queen's Computer Science, so I got that pretty early on. Later on, I actually got UBC Engineering. And then most recently, I got 2 offers from U of T, one for engineering science and one for computer science. So I got 2 options there, and also a $5,000 scholarship for engineering science. So
Wow, that's really good.
Really good.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
So-
difficult to go in the
Yeah.
program, I know, for the UFT engineers. Yeah.
Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah.
Now, how many years have you participated in robotics competitions?
So I actually joined Wiz in grade 7. So about 5 years ago, I actually joined the FTC team here. So it's been about 5 years of doing robotics and FTC, and then I started VEX a couple years back. So 5 years of FTC and maybe like 2 or 3 years of VEX.
Jason's actually our last veteran original member, so he's a veteran on the team. So tell me, Jason, you've had experience with VEX and FTC, so can you compare the 2 competitions, and what are the main differences between the competitions?
All right, so the first big difference is the organization. So FTC is obviously hosted by FIRST, and VEX is a separate organization. I know that from a university standpoint, Waterloo especially looks more at FIRST. Like there's a section on this where you can literally get a scholarship only for being in FIRST. VEX doesn't really have any of that. But beyond just, the resume or that kind of stuff, when it comes to robotics, FTC and VEX are pretty different, where I know FTC, you're allowed to 3D print parts, you're allowed to use a CNC machine. There's a lot more freedom when it comes to making the robot. VEX, you actually have to use the parts that come from the VEX organization themselves. There's a lot less freedom. You can't really 3D print parts. But for me, I'm a programmer, so I know most about the changes in programming. I know there's differences in language. FTC uses Java, but VEX uses C++. But also just the quality of the robots are different, where FTC, you have these Mecanum drive robots where they're actually a little more different to program. VEX, you're dealing with the regular two-sided tank drives, so programming is also different there. So, but regarding each of the robotics, they're both relatively similar. But at the end of the day, whether it's C++ or Java, both are really good opportunities for actually getting your robotic skills up and learning how to program, learning how to build, learning how to 3D design. But yeah, both are good options.
Good. Now, as a student about to graduate from high school, what advice would you give somebody in grade 7, 8, or 9?
So my biggest advice would be to figure out what you really enjoy, and once you find something that you enjoy when it comes to an extracurricular, for example, to really take that extracurricular and see how far you can take it, see how far you can push yourself and how much you can enjoy it. And in this case, for me, it was robotics, where I started out in grade 7. I didn't really know much, but I definitely thought it was super interesting. But then I continued doing it. I fell more and more in love with it, and ultimately it's just brought me to places even higher up, where I've made worlds for VEX, and I'll be going to FTC Worlds this year as well. And honestly, it's just that idea of just making sure that once you find something that you really love, to never let go of it and to continue learning from it, to take it forward as much as you can.
Very good, Jason. Now, you've been with Wiz Robotics since grade 7. So do you feel it's helped you improve your skills and knowledge, and in what ways? Like maybe leadership, programming, other things?
So there's been a lot. I think especially, so I was one of the main programmers on the FTC team here, and I didn't really start out that way. I actually didn't know Java at all when I first started, but what is really important is that there's a lot of motivation when you're on an FTC team. One of the programmers, Edward, he's actually in the U of T engineering science right now. He's 2 years older than me. But when he first came in, I saw him programming, and I saw how he would, maneuver around the subsystems and develop the library. And I wanted to kind of shadow him and follow him in his footsteps. And that's what really got me started with programming. And it made me want to take the classes here to learn Java. I learned the syntax, and then eventually I was able to understand the FTC library after just looking at Edward's code, but also from the classes here. So in the end, I was able to take this library, and when Edward was gone, I was able to take over and continue developing the library myself. And it's such a special feeling to see someone like Edward, who I thought was so far away from me, but then now I'm in his shoes all of a sudden. And it's not only that, where I not only learned how to program, but also what it really means to be a leader. Since last year, I actually left my original team to lead a bunch of rookies. And it was a really interesting opportunity for me because, I've been dealing with programming for my whole robotics career. I've never really dealt with what it means to be a role model, how to inspire other people, how to, manage people as well, right? And ultimately, Wiz did give me those opportunities, and it's taken me really far. I've taken the leadership skills to actually develop the VEX program at my school. I managed to get a VEX robotics coach. I've managed to make worlds with my VEX team, and it's mostly because of the experiences I've gotten with Wiz, and it's just helped me grow as a person and also take myself further as well.
Actually, we got to do a little bit of experimenting as well, and learning new things and trying out a whole bunch of different things, which was really good and a lot of fun. So a lot of experimentation, a lot of discovery. So, having said that, if a student only participates in one robotics competition, do you think that that's good enough learning experience to help them in high school or university?
So for me, I've been doing this for a really long time. And from my experience, so I started out as like a newbie, right? I really didn't know much. And after a year of doing FTC, to be honest, I was still a little lost. I had I experimented with a lot of things. I tried 3D designing, if you remember. I tried building, I tried programming, but eventually by my second or third year was when I really started to understand what I really enjoyed. And it was largely because of how, as I do more of it, I also learn more in school. I learn more math. I start to know more about myself, and ultimately by my second or third year was when I really got into FTC. It was really when I wanted to improve my programming skills, when I really enjoyed programming. So it's honestly really hard to tell what you can accomplish in only a year, and sometimes it might take up to 2 and 3 to really grow a lot. That's what happened to me, and ultimately I can just recommend that some things take time, and robotics is one of those things.
So from what I get from you is that 1 year gives somebody a little bit of a taste, but not necessarily a good immersive experience. Exactly. So now I'm going to ask you, can you share a particularly memorable experience from your past robotics competition? So something that happened that, sticks out in your mind.
Yeah, so this was 2 years ago when I was in grade 10, and this was when Edward was still on the team. He was in grade 12 at this time. And this was at provincials. The code, there's something off about it. I think it was the path of the robot. And I was talking with Edward, and I was like, can we make this change? And during this time, I was still kind of a newbie at programming, but Edward was like, go for it. So I made the change. We uploaded the code, and then the next time the robot ran in competition, it ended up fixing everything. And in that moment, Edward looked at me and gave me a thumbs up. I don't know if you remember that photo, but he looked at me, gave me a thumbs up, and in my heart, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I actually feel so good about myself now. Yeah. But that's really memorable for me, and yeah.
So that's a good success story. Thank you, Jason, for that story.
I have another question I would like to ask you. As the coach, Mr. Michaud, working with you a few years, how did you feel, Mr. Michaud? I want to get some feedback from a student.
I'll have to pay you later.
Yeah. Do you think Mr. Michaud really helped you for your career?
So Mr. Michaud is a guy with a hell of a experience. He's done a lot of, you know, mechanical stuff, a lot of designing. So especially when I was first starting out, I would always ask him questions. I'd always ask him what I could do. And Mr. Michaud was always there to give me advice. And he's someone with a lot of experience and someone I can always go to learn more, essentially. I know that I did a lot of programming and Mr. Michaud doesn't do much of that, but he always understands the basis of things and he always knows what the next step in a process is. So I always go to him to ask, I've done this for programming, what can I do now? And ultimately, Mr. Michaud has always been someone who's taught me how to use tools, how to introduce me to 3D design. And honestly, he's been a person with a strong back and someone who I can always go to for advice in general, or just as a person I can talk to.
Very good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then I heard you said that you also got the scholarship from the university. Can you tell the parents or the younger student how do you get this scholarship?
So what's interesting is that I got the scholarship for engineering science. So a big part of it is, you know, your capabilities of being an engineer. And, you know, one part of it is grades, but another big part of it is having a very strong co-curricular activity that you've been committed to. So on my own application, I said I've done FTC for 5 years. And honestly, that looks really impressive to a lot of universities. And in this case, it's likely what got me that scholarship or even the offer for U of T. So it's all about having that commitment and having co-curricular that you can write a lot about, because there are also those essay questions. I wrote about robotics a lot, but there's those essay questions, but also just having that commitment, and so that they can know that you really love what you want to do in the future.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Very good. Successful.